That's true. Yeah. Um, so the outlet mall is fun. We're working on getting some more restaurants. That's what we need. We have a lot of burgers. Got McDonald's, Culver's. We have a Subway. Not a lot of sit-down places though. So if you guys are looking for investment opportunities, open up a restaurant in Simpsonville.
Talking to a room of reporters, I don't know if there's a lot of disposable income.
Yeah.
To do that sort of thing.
Culver's ice cream.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's good.
So the birthday boss is having a business. Slacker.
That's great, Austin. Thank you.
All right.
And we were all live.
You're the best. I mean, compliment.
I know, seriously.
It's always
I feel like we need to take a free shot when we're done, like, all that kind of stuff.
Hey, Stu.
Karen.
2 days in a row, it's a record. Thank you. Yeah, we can just really need to keep this walkway clear right here. So. Many of you who have joined us, I'm sure you can tell, we're just throwing mics up on the podium there, as long as we keep that lower space clear, we're all good.
What's that? That's. My gentleman. Yeah. Some of the guys on the board.
Test, test. Test, test.
One more time. Keep
Test,
talking.
test, test.
You're not tell us all about the mall, but
Okay,
you know.
good.
You can do the ABCs or whatever you feel like.
Okay.
Sing your favorite song. Or...
I'm not singing over here.
That's okay. You don't have to do that.
I'll save all of you guys that pain.
Yeah.
Simpsonville Mall talk might be better too.
Yeah. Okay.
You're all good. Thank you, Doctor.
All right,
Thank
perfect.
you so much.
Well, good afternoon. This morning, the United States Supreme Court published its opinion in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization. In its opinion, the court overturned Roe v. Wade. This was a ruling that was anticipated because of the unprecedented leak of an earlier draft, but now it is final. Pro-life men, women, and children all across this nation are rightly celebrating a decision has been prayed for and worked towards for many years. With the Dobbs decision, the United States Supreme Court has declared that states are the sources of authority in protecting unborn life. The court has recognized that our laws should reflect our values. In Kentucky, that value has been to preserve life. The unborn have the same rights to life as you and me. As you may know, Kentucky is one of several states that has enacted legislation that would automatically take effect once Roe was overturned. The legislation protects babies from all forms of abortion. So as of this morning, except where the health of the mother is at risk, abortion is no longer lawful in the Commonwealth. In the coming days, my office will pursue court orders that reflect this new legal reality. And later today, we will release a statewide advisory that further details the impact of Dobbs on Kentucky. That all of us are at this point is testament to the perseverance of the pro-life movement. So before we consider what happens next, let's remember where we've been. The pro-life movement was there in 1973 when Roe was decided. In the days that followed, pro-life advocates prayed for wisdom, laid the groundwork for the nationwide response. That response included establishing pregnancy centers, organizing counselors, and facilitating adoptions. Later, the movement played a role in the science that proved what we instinctively know to be true. That there are two lives at issue in every abortion, a fact further proven by the black and white sonograms taped to the refrigerators of nearly every expecting family. Mackenzie and I still have our sonogram of Theodore, and certainly always will. Hearing the heartbeats and seeing the sonograms has helped change the hearts and minds of folks all across America. Laws have changed as a result. Currently, over a dozen states have statutes, like Kentucky's, that took effect upon Roe's fall, and that will protect more babies than ever before. And so the future seems promising. It's also promising because we witness the rise of the pro-life generation. Young people lead and participate in our cause in ever-increasing numbers. In fact, according to one report, millennials are now more pro-life than their parents. Nearly half of those between 18 and 29 agree that abortion was more likely to do harm than good. The men, women, and children who make up the pro-life movement are the reason for these advancements. So I say thank you. Thank you to the visionaries and the volunteers, the sidewalk counselors and the prayer warriors, the advocates and the lawmakers. Thank you to those who gave their time, those of you that shared your resources. We all say thank you. But our work is not done. We now enter a new era, and a new era calls for a renewed commitment. We must continue to advance and advocate for legislation that stands up for the babies who cannot stand up for themselves. We must commit to defending and implementing those laws. I, for one, will do my part in this role as Attorney General. Let us also, this is important, open our hearts and extend our arms toward those who feel forgotten, those who think that they have no options and no support. Let's give them real, life-affirming options and caring support. Staff up our adoption agencies, connect those who seek a family with the children who need one, and serve all these individuals with grace and compassion. So many pro-life advocates have been serving in such capacities for years. It's now time all of us join them. And let's not stop there. We must share our resources with those who need them, and we must give generously as well. We must lift up pregnancy centers, faith-based groups, and new families with our resources as well as with our hopes and prayers. There will be those who will certainly oppose such efforts. Let them see Christ in our response. Let empathy and understanding govern our reaction, including the way in which we implement our laws. If we meet this commitment, we will bind up the wounds Roe has caused and help heal those who carry scars from that option. To close, I'm reminded of what Scripture says in Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. If the good Lord has plans for these mothers, babies, and families, then so should we. That's my charge to all of us today, and is a charge that will inform my office's decisions moving forward. Thank you all so much. God bless you. May God continue to bless our Commonwealth of Kentucky. With that, open it up to any questions that folks might have.
General, you said that this takes effect immediately with the exception of when the mother is at risk. When the mother is at risk, is that something that will continue here in Kentucky moving forward?
The bill has made, obviously, or the law, I'm sorry, the Human Life Protection Act has made exception for when the mother's at risk, and that will certainly continue to be the case.
I kind of have a follow-up to that. The ACLU has said, has told me that they've advised their clients not to do any procedures. So now they believe that women will have to go to other states to have that done. How will they know that they're legally okay to do so? Because they've been told not to.
Well, I'm not going to be in the position of getting the ACLU any legal advice. All I can say is that in Kentucky, our law has gone into effect now, and I think this is a day and a cause for celebration. But at the same time, I want to make sure that folks know that we now have to have empathy and compassion and recognize that we need to connect children with families that want these children, make sure that there are adoptions that are allowed to go forward. But as to the specific question, I'll let the ACLU make their own determinations.
More directly, how will women know who actually do need the procedure for health reasons? They're going to be concerned, where do they go?
I'm sorry, say that last part again.
Where they'll be concerned where to go, where can they legally go?
Well, again, I want to make sure that, the law is sufficiently followed here in Kentucky. And so, again, I don't want to be in a position of giving any advice to the ACLU. What I would say is that our law makes for an exception for the health of the mother. And I'll leave it to others to make the determination about what that means as it relates to the ACLU.
As the top law enforcement official in Kentucky, are you concerned at all about the Supreme Court going back on a precedent that was set more than 50 years ago? I know some other cases were mentioned in the concurring opinion, and there's even been some discussion about others that could be reversed. Do you have any concerns about that?
Well, I know in the majority opinion, Justice Alito was very clear on this ruling was specific to the overturning of Roe v. Wade and none of these other ancillary questions that I think you might be alluding to. I think Justice Alito and others on the court made the point that Roe v. Wade was bad law, and that is why it's been overturned today.
But I know Justice Thomas talked about Obergefell, the gay marriage decision, and another decision dealing with contraception and access to contraception. And I know that there's even some discussion about some other ones that weren't necessarily mentioned, but obviously when you're talking about overturning a case that was settled 50 years ago, there's a lot of concern about the Supreme Court doing that in similar cases.
Well, I'll just reaffirm what I just said, which is that Justice Alito, in the majority opinion, made the distinction between this case and those that you are alluding to, and made clear that this is only specific to the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
There have been several other abortion-related bills that have went through the session just as recently as this year. For example, House Bill 3, how does this decision really affect the implementation of those laws and the constitutional amendment that will be on the ballot this November, deciding if it's a right in Kentucky? Is that a moot point now, or does that still matter?
In the coming days ahead, and I'll let Brett Nolan respond to this more specifically, but we will be going into court where we have some of these pending cases and asking for some of those injunctions or some of those judgments that have essentially held in abeyance those laws, in particular House Bill 3. We'll be going into court to ask that the judges lift those orders. But I'll let Brett speak more specifically to that.
The decision certainly eliminates the basis for those challenges to Kentucky's abortion laws. And so, as the Attorney General said, we're reviewing. The cases don't just go away. We have to ask courts to lift injunctions and dismiss cases, which is what we'll plan on doing in the future.
Kentucky Right to Life president, probably about 2 hours ago, said that her understanding is that abortions would not stop today, but they would by the end of the year. Those are her words.
Well, I think our reading, our judgment is that our Human Life Protection Act is effective as of today, and I think even some of these facilities that have been providing it are reading it in the same way.
General, is there a rape incest provision in our bill? And for those who need to know, is there a week limit on from when conception takes place to when procedure would be allowed?
No, this is, I'm sorry, say that last part again.
Is there a week limit on this, on our bill?
Abortion is, for all intents and purposes, over here in the Commonwealth, with the exception of life. There is no rape and incest exception. And let me take a moment here, if I may. The governor said something about this law being extreme. First thing I'll note is that by calling it extreme, he's called a bipartisan measure that was passed in 2019 with the help of 19 Democrats. He's called that bill extreme, and by virtue of doing that, he's called the folks that elect these representatives to come to Frankfort to make the policies, he's called those people extreme as well. And the other thing I'll note is that one of his top advisors, Rocky Adkins, voted for this bill in 2019. So if I'm Rocky or Angie Hatton or anybody else, I would think twice about wanting to align myself with this governor.
Can you clarify how the law that's now in effect addresses abortion medications? Are those fully illegal in Kentucky? If someone travels out of state to procure an abortion medication, is that illegal if that person uses it in Kentucky? Just please clarify that part of it.
Say that last part again, I apologize.
For example, if someone were to travel out of state and procure abortion medication and return to Kentucky, how does this law affect a scenario like that? And just abortion medications in general?
Well, I don't want to speak to hypotheticals about traveling out of state, but what I'll say is it relates to Plan B and contraception. That is our contraceptive. This law does not affect those things in particular.
But how does it affect abortion medications?
It does impact those, absolutely.
And so specifically, what does it do?
It makes those illegal as well.
In Kentucky, to administer or to prescribe, to use, and how specifically does this law affect
Well, anything that would cause, outside of the Plan B or contraceptive scope, that would be considered banned here in Kentucky.
Got time for 2 more questions?
Would a challenge to Kentucky's trigger law, would that then put the issue on the ballot with the law finally with the referendum in November?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Kentucky's trigger law is challenged, could it then be the ballot question that would finally decide this issue?
Well, I do know that, that obviously the ballot initiative will continue to go forward. And I do know that there's some understanding that opponents of this decision that was made by the United States Supreme Court intend to challenge it. Obviously, we'll have to sort that out in the days to come.
What do you tell people who have concerns about this ruling as it relates to women's health and women's reproductive health specifically? I've seen a lot of concern that this is going to be something that's going to potentially harm women in those situations. And I've also seen a lot of people saying that they might go seek care in other states or even just move to other states to ensure that they have the right to an abortion. What do you tell those folks who are worried about this?
Well, I want to make sure that, again, this is a moment where we have to make sure that we demonstrate compassion and be generous in how we view our response to those people in particular. We need to make sure that we have services available to the women who previously might have made this determination. We need to make sure that they feel like they have somewhere they can go to share their concerns, to share whatever angst that they might have about this decision. But ultimately, at the end of the day, in Kentucky, we have expressed the value that we want to stand up and protect the lives of the unborn. I think that is a position to be proud of. And I understand that there will be some folks that don't view it in the same light, but in my judgment, we don't need to speak to those people vindictively. We obviously have to have compassion and care for those folks as well.
I know you're not in on committee meetings and voting on bills, but from a personal standpoint, your thoughts on not having a rape incest provision?
Well, I think that we've done the right thing here in Kentucky to make sure that we are standing up for life. And I applaud what the legislature did. Look, we've got a 5-month-old at home. And it makes my position on life issues that much stronger. And so I appreciate and respect what the General Assembly has done and recognize that it reflects folks in all of our 120 counties. Again, there were 19 Democrats who voted for this in 2019, 15 members of the House, 4 members of the Senate, Rocky Atkins being one of those that now currently works for the governor. So I am pleased and honored to be the Attorney General that gets to work on these issues and defend life. We have to be in the business here in Kentucky of protecting babies and standing up for pregnant women and pregnant mothers, and we're going to continue to do that here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
General Cameron, I'm sorry, did
Last question.
you say at the outset that you, besides the court action, you'll be issuing some sort of guidance on the law? Can you elaborate on that and when that will take place?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. Yes, we will provide that advisory opinion sometime within the next couple hours. Yes, sir.
What will that entail, please?
I'm sorry.
What will that entail? What will be in that?
It'll be some general questions that have been raised by folks within our Commonwealth. Provide answers to particular questions that have been raised. So, thank you all so much. God bless you.